Welcome back to the channel, good friends. Brian from Apex Detail. For quite some time on the channel, I have been trying to relay the importance or value of adding wet sanding or sanding to your detailing arsenal or your correction arsenal, to be more specific. It is not only a quicker way to correct medium to heavy damage to your clear coat or single stage, but it's also safer for that material. Heat spikes. And when I'm talking about heat spikes, I'm not talking about raising the level of temperature to the whole vehicle being out in the sun. I'm talking about a spike in one particular pinpointed area on a panel where the rest of it is ambient temperature that is 20 or more degrees cooler than the area you're correcting. That is an enemy to clear coat or single stage, and I try to avoid it personally at all costs. And we're just clear coat and paint friendly here, and we're just mindful of this stuff. If you're not worried about it, skip on to the next video. But today I want to introduce you to, well, you could say a partial kit to get you started with wet sanding. This can be picked up locally, so let's get right into the video. Guys, these are the Hercules damp/dry sanding discs. From 1000 grit all the way up to 3000 grit. As you can see, these aren't even all of them, but this is what I deem necessary to get started in wet sanding, from removing your most harsh damage, heavy damage on clear coat or single stage, all the way up to stepping down, finishing up, blending in, and from here, 2000 and 3000 grit, you can easily polish out the sand marks with just a fine polish and a medium polish pad. Very quick and easy. Let's get into the different ways you can use the discs, which tools you can team them up with, and get a closer look. Okay, let's start off with the higher grit discs. They look a little bit more familiar. Hook and loop, so you can attach to a polisher or any of your palm or hand sanders. It is a foam disc to be used damp. In my opinion, you can use them damp or dry, but damp will control dust, keep it attached to the panel or running down the side of the vehicle. So the face of the pad has a corduroy feel to it, and that's how you get your cut and finish. They send 3 pads along in each pack. Each pack is around $3 or $4 depending on where you are. Again, that's the 3000 grit. The 2000 grit, 4000 grit, and higher are going to be similar with that kind of felt or corduroy feel to it. It's not a grainy, abrasive foam. So you would soak these beforehand before using them, or spray water, or have a tool. Some of the sanders have a constant feed of moisture. Let's get into the discs that may be a little bit less familiar to you. That's going to be the lower grit or the harsher cut discs. Starting with the 1000. And again, what I pick out to be used in a detailing scenario are 1000, 1200, 1500 grit. That's really all you would need for the defects on the surface of clear coat. Here you're going to get quite a few discs, 5, and they are hook and loop on the back, but unfamiliar to a lot. It's not going to be a gritty, grainy sanding surface that you're used to. This is the CAO, the ceramic aluminum oxide discs, and it's a film that does the cutting. Feels smooth, but believe me, once you start to use these, either damp or dry, it starts off slow, but it will start to cut. 1000 grit, and then the 1200 grit and 1500 grit, pretty much the same thing. 5 discs, has the film. And there we go. So, now that we have these unboxed, any one of these can be attached to your favorite polisher, or if you have a dedicated sander, you can do that as well. Or, by the way, we will get to the sheets that Hercules has available that you can wrap around your favorite blocks for some perfectly flat sanding. For a lot of the defects on clear coat, you don't need that. I prefer the sponges or the foam pads and these here. But if you have a palm sander that's hook and loop, or you have one of this one of these handheld hook and loop, or even a smaller one yet for rock chips, all you have to do to get the most out of your discs, get these on here, trace with a magic marker or a permanent marker, and I'll do that for you. Cut it with the scissors and you'll have one cut to fit. By the way, you can do this if you don't like the overhang of the 6-inch disc on the 5-inch backing plate. Just set them on the disc, trace with a marker, for Pete's sake, that's easy to see. If you want to get more than one, try and fit them like a puzzle and get the most out of your sanding disc without waste. Group them together. You can get 2 of these and 3 or 4 of the little ones on here. Pull them off. Cut them out. This scissors is for cardboard and thicker materials, so it easily cuts. Take your time. Cut outside of your line so you know you have enough material hanging out beyond your hook and loop material on the palm sander or the hand sander, so you're not scratching the paint. Attach it. See, it's hanging out over, so the sander itself is not making contact with the surface. And there you go. You can do it by hand or machine. For this one here, and there we go. Attach it to the sander. We have the sides extended out so the hook and loop isn't touching the paint, and you're ready to get to work. Let's get to the test panel. And on this test panel is a cluster of scratches. We have one here, 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 and you know, they're pretty deep. You can hear the nail and feel the nail get caught up in those scratches. So that's through the clear coat. So we're going to be able to, what? You pooped in the refrigerator and ate a whole wheel of cheese? I'm not mad. I'm actually proud of you. And with the light, and I'll put my hand in here so the camera focuses, you can see these 2 scratches that we're going to be after. And we'll use the sanding discs to get the bulk of the work done and just polish out the finish with a fine polish and polishing pad. Let's get some masking tape around these to kind of separate them from the other marks on this panel. All right, I'm going to do some of this by hand and machine, and I'm always going to be using the wet sand method to keep dust down in the shop. You can have these discs already soaking, and that'd be fine. Then you just miss the panel. And we're going to sand. Let me back you up a little bit so it's not shaking the camera. We're going to sand this way, and you can already see the clear coat being shaved these ceramic pads or discs work very well. And we're also going to sand, as you can see here, the opposite direction. So we're going with perpendicular to the scratch, we're going across the scratch, and that's just smoothing things out. Let me bring you closer. You can see the clear coat that is accumulating, that we are shaving from the surface. So I'm going to stop right there. That's all we're going to need. Rinse that off, wipe it down, and I'll show you the next step. Before we go to the next step, I want to show you why wet sanding is one of the safest methods to use for correcting. Where the, well, you can see with my hand, the hottest points of the picture are going to be in the red. That's the square that we're going to be correcting. Now pay attention to the surfaces we're working on. You can see my hand in there, but when I pull it away, nice and cool. Still an ambient 68 to 72 degrees. With a polisher, on the other hand, and this may be a little bit difficult doing this just by myself, but let me show you the heat. I'll move the polisher and you can see the heat. What is the hottest point? 100 degrees, where the rest of the panel's ambient temperature is 68. That point right there is going to be where the most stress on the clear coat, or if it's single stage, and you want to try to avoid that and keep it cool. Hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, let me know down in the comments. Back to the job at hand. Let me wipe off the residue. Let me dry it, and then I'll bring you in. Let me take off this tape here, because when we go to the next step, we want to blend. So we're going to sand with the higher grit discs an area that's a little wider than we were with those really harsh cutting discs. So let me remove these. Let me dry this for you, and then I'll bring you in to show you what it looks like at this stage. At this stage, this is what it looks like. We have rounded off. You can see some low points in the paint. Now, if you were doing texture removal on a car, you would go until you don't see those ripples or those marks there. And I would only do texture removal on a vehicle that has been repainted and has given you several mils of clear. On a standard vehicle with OEM measurements, don't worry about the texture. You're going to be shaving it too thin. But anyways, if these marks here are not removed completely, they will, by the time we're finished, be barely visible and only at the perfect angle with the perfect amount of light. So what we need to do is step down and blend in. Let me show you how to do that. So we grab the foam disc, 3000 grit equivalent, get it on the polisher. You can have those pre-soaking already, so they are already damp, or just wet the area and wet the disc. And now we're going to work an area that's about 2 to 3 inches larger than the original cut. Now 3000 grit is not aggressive at all, so I'm going to keep sanding until I see some of the buildup here, and that means clear is being shaved. It takes 1 or 2 or 3 passes to get that new disc going. Once it does, it cuts very well. So what we're doing now has nothing to do with the 2 scratches. What we're doing now is smoothing or stepping down from those harsh 1,000 or 1,200 or 1,500 sand grit discs that you choose. And we're blending in an area, and we are stepping down and getting to a point where you can polish out the sand marks very quickly, very easy. And I'm going to show you how and what I use for that. Let's wipe off the residue. I'll dry things up and I'll bring you in and show you what it looks like at this point before we move on to the next step. We have now, so to speak, stepped down and blended in the area, and you can get a better reflection now starting to clear up. And what we're doing, it's so funny to think about this, but we are removing scratches with scratches, even when we get to the polishing portion. We're getting those sand marks down to a point where the naked eye cannot see them, and it will look glossy and smooth to you. So let's go to the next step, and I'll show you how easy it is to polish this out. So at this point of the repair, we've now put the sand discs away. We get out a fine or microcut polish. Nothing aggressive with the polish, the pad, which is a polishing pad, foam polishing pad, and just a 15mm throw orbital polisher, dual action polisher. So let's finish this out. Well, for Pete's sake. Way too much. That's the way I like it. Let me get my towel over here ready to wipe off the residue, and we'll get to work. Spread out the polish. Set the polisher. I like it between the 3rd and the 4th speed setting. And the battery dies. As usual, for crying out loud. Let me get another one. Now, what I like about the Cook Chemi is I've had time to go over, swap out a polisher, put that pad on this polisher, get back to it, and I'll still have plenty of time to finish the cut, or the finish. Stop, let the polisher come to a rest. Let it stop its oscillation and rotation. That'll be easier on your polisher. Get more life out of it. Your backing plate and pads. Let's wipe off the residue. And I'll grab you off the stand and we'll look at our progress. Okay. Nice, shiny, smooth, and those scratches are completely gone. And we've done that with hardly any stress. Here you can see where the area outside that hasn't been corrected, and inside, beautiful. But that's been done with hardly any stress to the clear coat. We weren't running a polisher 28,000 times back and forth, spiking temperature more than 20 degrees of its ambient temperature. That's where the stress comes from. And we've gotten rid of this damage, and it looks fantastic. Okay, good friends. In my opinion, the Hercules discs are going to be a great way to get your wet sanding arsenal started. There's a lot more to cover, and I will when it comes to wet sanding. It happens to be one of the safest ways to correct paint, and we can get more into that if you don't understand the concept. But if you have any questions at all on wet sanding the Hercules discs, we'll get to the Hercules sheets and anything else that you might want to add to your arsenal when it comes to wet sanding. Wet sanding is fun. It's very quick, it's effective, it's safe, and if you're uncomfortable still, I urge you to head to your closest body shop, grab some panels, a hood, a door, a fender. They're always happy to see you, and get rid of their stockpile of panels, and grab some horses from Home Depot, set it up on horses, and practice. This has been Brian from Apex Detail. It was a pleasure spending a few moments with you, and I'll catch you in the next video.